Well, hello friends. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Jason Zook, founder of JasonDoesStuff, BuyOurFuture, which is what I'm going to be talking about here, and a bunch of other projects. I Wear Your Shirt, Buy My Last Name, sponsor my book, yada, yada, yada. If you don't know who I am, how did you find this video? Let's be honest with each other. This is going to be very informal, this daily video that I'm doing. This is not a vlog. I mean, I guess by definition, it is some semblance of that, but I'm not trying to be the next Casey Neistat. I did video blogging stuff, daily videos, years ago. This is the thing for years ago, in 2009. I don't want to do that. What I want to do, though, is I want to share what it's like to launch a big, high-value project that has a lot of moving parts, and what are all the things that go along with that, because it's something I would like to listen to. And that brings us to the first question. I have actual questions to ask myself, which is kind of funny. I don't think I've ever had paper, but this is going to be very informal. Normally, my wife Caroline will be here with me, so envision her here, and she'll be talking with me during this 2-week launch period of BuyOurFuture. Again, I'm not going to edit, so like if I have that goes on, just deal with it. We're going to be here together on this informal video diary journal journey. I don't know. Again, I'm rolling with it here. I'm not going to edit things out. I'm just going to be real during this process. So, why do this journal? The reason I wanted to do this journal, the reason why the idea even came up, like I said, is because this is something I would like to watch. I would like to watch other founders, other creators build stuff and then share the behind the scenes and even during the process of what it's like, what it feels like, and not just show the shiny success story afterward. And so now that BuyOurFuture has been through a few iterations, I feel like we have a pretty smooth-ish process, which may come up in other videos during this launch, and I want to just share what it's like to do this. So that kind of brings us to what is BuyOurFuture. If you've never heard of it, it is kind of our one-stop shop, buy all the things we've created in one bundle and get access to this amazing community of now 350 plus other entrepreneurs who are all trying to just find their way in life and business, and they want a community of people. And the community is really the biggest part of BuyOurFuture. That is the best thing there. But if you don't want the community, you just want a really good deal on all the products and services my wife Caroline and I have made, that is what BuyOurFuture is. So every one of these videos is not going to be a pitch for BuyOurFuture. Instead, it is just going to be a look inside of what is going on while we launch it. But this is the first one. You got to know what this thing is that I'm talking about. Okay, so let's talk about schedule of events here on my list. I have a list. I'm going to try and stick to it because otherwise this video could get super long. BuyOurFuture is a 2-week launch, 14 days. It opens September 26th. It ends October 10th for this specific launch. And there's no rhyme or reason why we picked 14 days. There was no article we read. There was no study that someone went through where they said 14 days is the optimal amount. We just picked it because we liked it. It gives us enough time for a purchasing decision to happen and for us to be able to do some stuff throughout that launch. Some people like 9 days, some people like 7 days, some people like 5 days. I don't know, you choose. We chose 14. It may change in the future. So that's why we picked that. But for how we are promoting this thing. So we are basically using our email lists as the main driver for sales of BuyOurFuture. My wife Caroline has her site Made Vibrant and her email list, The Self-Made Society. I have JasonDoesStuff, which you probably know because that's probably where you're watching this video, and the email list, The Action Army. And we have combined our email list for this launch of BuyOurFuture, which is kind of crazy. We haven't seen anybody else do that, but there's probably not a lot of other entrepreneurial couples like us who have so much overlap in what we do. But we have combined our list, so that is about 13,000 people. It was more than that. We had to delete a bunch of subscribers. That's a whole other story. And actually, if you want to hear that story, you can go to the Action Army podcast on SoundCloud or iTunes, and the episode on list bombing will introduce you to what we had to do. It's a whole other thing. I don't want to go into it, but I will add links to things that I can remember that I say below this video on JasonDoesStuff or in the YouTube description. Again, if I forget, I'm sorry, just let me know and I'll add the link. Be like, hey, where was that thing that you said? You didn't put in the thing. I'll do it for you. So schedule of events. So we're going to basically push this to our email list. These are people who have subscribed to our emails. They've gotten emails from us in the past. 13,000 people is that pool of people now. And we have some other stuff. So we have 2 workshops that are going on throughout the launch. On the Thursday, which is like 2 days after we open the doors, the virtual doors, we're doing a Working to Live workshop, which is kind of our mantra that we've come up with on how we work, how we live, and how we kind of fit our business into the lifestyle that we want. And we love teaching that. So it's an hour of just awesome free content, a lot of actionable stuff. And then at the end, there's a pitch to BuyOurFuture with maybe some bonus stuff. which we'll probably talk more about on the episode of this little journal episode, the video, whatever, I don't know, where we actually talk about how that went, what we were planning on doing and all that stuff. But we're very transparent. So at the very beginning of that workshop, we'll say there's a pitch at the end, and then when the pitch starts, we'll say, hey, the pitch is starting. If you hate pitches, you can leave now, and you don't have to hear it. So that's just kind of how we roll with all of our stuff. So we'll do that one, and then we'll do a live Q&A at the end of Buy Our Future, probably on the last day on October 10th, where we'll just take any like last minute questions. And I think we may also do some Instagram live stuff. We've never done that before, Caroline or myself, and we think it could be fun just to do that and chat about it. And Caroline's actually building a whole social media strategy, more for herself than I think for me, because I just don't spend much time or effort promoting things on social media these days. But I'll let her talk about that tomorrow. This is Caroline. She's here. She's just not here today. She's traveling. So that's that. And then I have this video series, which truthfully is another way to promote Buy Our Future. That's just me being honest. I'm going to be honest a lot through these videos. And then we did a lead up, which was really kind of the big thing this time around, which I'll get to in a moment. But the last thing I want to talk about is retargeting on Facebook. So we have used retargeting on Facebook since the first launch of Buy My Future in 2015. And if you don't know how this project evolved, you can read a full recap of that, JasonDoesStuff.com/BuyMyFuture, and that will tell you all of the things that went into it. But this is now the fourth launch. So it's Buy My Future the first time, Buy My Future the second time, Buy Our Future this spring where we combine forces, and now Buy Our Future a second time, and going forward, this is what it will be. Back to retargeting, we've done that every time that Buy My Future or Buy Our Future has existed, and every time it nets 7 to 10 sales on these retargeting ads. And the spend is somewhere between $2,000 in ad spend, and it nets us between $14,000 and $20,000 in total sales revenue, which is amazing. I will spend that money every single time to make that amount of revenue, which is awesome. So shout out to my buddy Seth, who manages all the Facebook ad stuff. I don't log into Facebook anymore. If you follow my Facebook page for some reason, maybe you just have been doing it for a long time when I actually wasn't active on Facebook, there will be some posts, but it's Caroline taking over. So we'll talk more about that probably tomorrow or another day. But shout out to my buddy Seth. If you guys need a retargeting person for Facebook, email me and I will introduce you. He's really, really good and very thorough. So yeah, that's basically the schedule of events of this launch. A lot of it is email dictated because that's where we have spent the most time creating trust and value is our email list. I've had my email list since 2014, Caroline the same, and these are people that trust us. We've sent them a lot of stuff over the years. Maybe they purchased stuff from us. So that's where we go naturally to promote. For us, there's no sense in creating a huge splash and trying to promote in other places because those people don't have trust, and selling a high value product it requires a lot of trust to do that. Okay, so let's talk about launch lead up, the next item on my list. Launch lead up this time around has been very different than the previous launches. So take you back real quick, Buy My Future, 2015, when it started, which is now 2 years ago, which is crazy to think it's been that long already. The lead up was a 60-day Medium journal. So I wrote every single day a journal entry about what it was like to build and launch a product, much like this, but in more of a writing format. And it was every single thing I was doing, from Caroline coming up with the branding and design, to having Skype calls with people, to working with a developer, to just overcoming fears of self-doubt of selling something that was more expensive than anything I'd ever sold before, all of those things. And actually, if you want to go back and read it, you can find it on Medium. It's called Project Galaxy. Again, I'll try to remember to link things around wherever things get linked, but this is informal. We're just here. We're just doing this so I can share some thoughts, and then you can go find those things because you're sleuthy and you're on the internet. Congratulations to you. So did the 60-day Medium journal. A lot of people really enjoyed that series. I don't remember exactly how many people ended up viewing that on Medium, but it was somewhere in the like 30 to 50,000 views of all of the 60 journal entries, which was really cool. And I can actually attribute a bunch of sales to the Medium journal of people who had never really been introduced to me or my work. So that worked really well. The second launch of Buy My Future, I wanted to just have my audience show me if they were interested in buying. So if I could just use my audience, my email list, pretty much specifically, to purchase and have that happen. So first launch, 178 people bought. It worked really well. It was $1,000. Second launch, it was, I think, 84 people purchased, somewhere around 80. And that was at $1,500. And so there was really no lead up. There was no nothing other than just The website was there. People could see that it was coming. They knew the launch date. And then this spring, Buy My Future became Buy Our Future. And sorry if I fumble over that. It's just kind of hard to say both, you know? I could say one easily, Buy Our Future, Buy My Future. But it's when I'm trying to combine both, it gets a little squirrely. We thought that the idea, the gimmick, if you will, of two people combining everything they've done and everything we'll do into one unique package was kind of enough. It didn't need a lead up for that. So Caroline and I just kind of cryptically talked about that something was coming and something cool was going to happen, and then we launched that. So that ended up selling 55 spots, and that was at $2,000. And we were super happy with that because we just had no clue how that would go. It was, again, mostly email driven. That was basically it. That was really testing the assumption that people would care and be interested. And we really liked that. So I think that was one of the biggest outcomes of that spring launch was we really enjoyed what that did for us. So for this launch of Buy Our Future, knowing that we felt good about it, that email was a big driver for us, we wanted to create something that was a little bit more involved for the lead up. And that was our Future Finding series, which was a 5-part video series. And if you've watched them, then you know it's high quality stuff. I filmed it more in depth than this. Like this camera was set up, we had 2 mics. We were very, very, very diligent about making sure everything looked and sounded good. And then Caroline created a curriculum of Future Finding, the 5-part series that was fantastic. And it's really cool because it takes you, whether you have no idea and you're just getting started through a 5-part series of how to get that idea out into the world and get your first paying customer, to if you're in this one-to-one thing where maybe you're doing client services or you have like workshops that you do and you can't scale that. You're just really kind of stuck in that of how to get out of that and how to create a scalable version. And then the third thing is actually where we have been in our journey, which is you have products, you have an audience, but it's not cohesive. It doesn't come together. It's not a clear roadmap of how your customer can get through to maybe a bigger thing like Buy Our Future or just naturally through all of the things you sell. So those were the 3 tracks that Caroline created this information for, and it's been really well received. I don't have numbers, sorry. I was gonna look it up and see how many people viewed the pages, how many people viewed the videos. If you care about that, let me know, and I'll cobble those numbers together before I start recording. But again, this is informal. Like you're not gonna see a lot of like B-roll shots and then me like out in the street walking around. Other people do that, congratulations to them. This is just like, let's just chat. Let's just be informal and let's chat and let's be okay with it. So that Future Finding series has been big. It's taken us over 100 hours easily, from Caroline creating the curriculum to myself editing all of the content to building the page, which is a really unique experience. We wanted it to feel like $1,000 plus product. So we wanted it to feel really big, really impactful, so that if someone watched those videos and maybe you go and watch them, you go, wow, if this is the quality I'm getting from a free thing, what am I going to get from all the other stuff that I'm going to be paying for with Buy Our Future? So we're going to test that assumption. And we also want to use Future Finding going forward as a thing that we can leverage. So we've got a lot of feedback on it. It's been fun. It's been grueling. It's been a lot of work, but excited for that to be our lead up for this launch and see how that does for people converting to purchases, if they do. Okay, so that's kind of the launch lead up for this go round. Let's talk about launching being scary. I'm on the 4th launch of this project, Buy My Future, now Buy Our Future. It's still scary. I'm still nervous every single time. I still have self-doubts. I still think no one's going to buy. This is just human nature. I mean, I've launched over 50 projects over the years, and I still can't get over the full hurdle of feeling these things. So if you feel that way, it is okay. Whether you're on your first one, your second one, or your 50th one like I am, it's just going to happen. And the great thing for us is that 2 people have already purchased this time around. And that kind of just leads me into something that I've learned over the years, is that I love having these launch dates and these launch times that people can look forward to, because I think it's really cool at building buzz and a little bit of mystery, and people get excited for it. It builds up their interest. Listen, companies like Apple and so many other people do this so well. But the one thing I have not loved is the like launch morning when I'm ready to flip things live and then nothing works, or like the hosting provider is down that day, or some code went wrong, and then like there's all these people who can't buy. And while that can be cool to have that like, oh, sorry, it's broken, like don't worry, it's coming, and they're all excited, I'd rather just not have that stress. So a little behind the scenes tidbit here, we actually opened the doors already. We usually do it about 24 hours before. We thoroughly test everything, and 2 people were smart enough or were refreshing the page enough to find that. So kudos to them. So thank you to those 2 people who already purchased. We will be updating throughout this how many people have purchased. Probably each day we'll give an update. Again, I want this to be really honest and transparent. I want you to feel like, man, that was really cool to see every step of the process of that 2-week launch, like what they did every day, what they learned, what they went through. Okay, so that's launching is scary. That is the first 2 sales. And then I have a final little segment here that I'd like to do on these videos, which I think would be fun, which is taking questions from you guys on Twitter specifically. And if you're not on Twitter, then we can find another way for you to leave them. But I have linked up again in the links of down below this video, whether on YouTube or on Jason Does Stuff, of a tweet that I put out asking if you have questions about what it's like to launch a high value product. So the first question is from Dr. Paul. Oh, dropping my journal. I'm very excited about the first question. It's from Dr. Paul and Brian from @HealthGeeks. How long should one be building their audience before creating and selling a high-level online product with an awesome Batman animated GIF? By the way, Team GIF over on this side of things. We're Team GIF. So if you're Team GIF, you're just going to have to deal with that, all right? This is a great question because there's a lot of different variables at play here. If you have 10 people and none of them have ever purchased anything from you, it's going to be really tough to sell them a high-value product, but it's not impossible. If you have 1,000 people on your email list and a lot of them have already purchased stuff from you, they may not be interested in a high-value product. So one of the things that we try and do a lot here, and Caroline would reiterate this if she was here, is test all of our assumptions. And what works for us may not work for you. What works for other people doesn't work for us. You just have to try things. You have to be willing to go out on a limb and see what happens. And I think one of the ways that you do that is you just start small. You try not to hedge your bets on something having to work or needing to be the one thing that you do, because if you do that, then there's even more pressure, there's even more stress, and what if it doesn't work? And instead, you just start small and you just try. So I would say no matter what audience size you have, if people have purchased something from you, then there is probably a good chance that you can sell them a high value product because they've now said, I trust you, here's some money. And the use case for this is that Caroline, again, she just pretends she's here. She only really sold $20 to, her biggest project was a $300 course, products before, BuyOurFuture in the spring. And she really had some self-doubt that people weren't going to buy because they'd never purchased anything expensive from her, if you will, or high value, probably better. And we put that assumption to the test, and 33% of the people who purchased during the spring were from her audience. So it was really great to see that that assumption was kind of proven wrong, if you will. So I would just say, no matter what audience size you have, if people are purchasing, have conversations with those customers already, see if you can find out where you can deliver them value. And that's really the big thing, is if you can take whatever value you've given them and ratchet it up big time, then I think there's space to sell a high value product. I think you can do it from ground zero as well if you want to. I just don't have experience with that, so it's going to be hard for me to give you that feedback. So hope that answers your question. Dr. Paul, you are awesome. Brian, you as well. If you guys have questions, again, ask them on Twitter because I just want to do the little screenshot thing. If you don't have Twitter and you just want to email me, you can do that to hello@jasondoesstuff.com. And that's it for this first journal entry here. This first video, again, very informal on these. They are probably not going to be this long, but this is the first one, so this kind of gets you into it. You can come back to this page if you're looking at this on Jason Does Stuff, and there'll be a new update every day that we're releasing something. I'll also try to remember to share them on Twitter if I can. I'll probably forget. And then they'll also be on YouTube within a playlist, although I spend almost no time promoting stuff on YouTube, so good luck if I don't link those up correctly. And if you're interested in BuyOurFuture, feel free to go check it out, BuyOurFuture.com. Again, it closes on October 10th. All of the sales pitch that you're going to possibly need is on there. I don't think I'm going to have to waste time here doing that. Again, this is just the behind the scenes of what it's like to launch something. So hope you liked the first video. If you have questions or thoughts, feel free to leave them wherever you want to do that. And thank you for listening.